Hey guys, and welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV for Survivor. This is episode 11. It's a me game, not a we game. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We can't wait to get started with you.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh God. Hey everybody. Thanks for joining us for Survivor. We're here back in the studio for episode 11, season 32. As I said before, it was called It's a Me Game. It's not a we game. I think Sydney said it best, right?
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. I'm your host. I'm Paige Bonanno. You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Paige Bonanno, and I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host.
And my name is Michael Rippe, and you can find me on social media at Mike Rips.
Hey guys, my name is Jaco Vienings. You guys can find me all over social media at Jaco Vienings.
All right. So, I mean, where do we start right now? So, episode 11 is a me game, not a we game. So, I mean, let's just dive into it from the beginning. Anything you guys want to say before we get this craziness going?
Yes, I have. Sheena123 really want you to give him a shout out.
Sheena, hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. Sheena is a great person for us because he's always on YouTube, on our live chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your comments, everything you have to say. Everybody else, join him on YouTube. Come on, why
welcome.
not? Get going. Well, anyways, thanks everybody for joining us again. So we're gonna just, I guess, dive right into the episode. Any other thoughts before we start?
Episode overall for me was it's okay. It's just one of the, you need those episodes that kind of just moves it along, and I think that was one of them.
That's true. Yeah, nothing too crazy went down.
No, just get you to the next
Just
episode.
get you to the next point. So
Move the game
so what?
on.
We have 6 people left.
6 people left.
6 people left.
After tonight. Going into tonight, 7?
We had 7. Now we have
lost
7.
Yeah, we have
one.
6.
Guaranteed a 1 in 6 chance at winning Survivor. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll just get started for this. So right away for the episode, we start and we're coming back from last tribal as we always start, and they have to have a little conversation about what just went down. So we see that Scott was voted out at the last tribal. Craziness, blindside, super pissed about it. Not me, he was.
He was pretty angry.
He was
Very angry.
pretty angry. And so basically, I don't know who said it, but they're like, I'm so happy. Oh, Aubrey, she's like, I'm so happy for Ty for like getting control of this game.
And Joe. Aubrey and Joe.
Super
happy.
But Joe's just hanging on by a thread. Like, I mean, not by a thread, because him and Aubrey are BFFs. They're together on this no matter what. But he's just coasting and coasting. He's just, I guess, he's just a goat to take.
Definitely.
He's laying in the weeds, and the closer we get to the final 3, it seems like maybe he's going to be one of the people that others try to take with him to the final 3, possibly.
Because
or Jason, though.
Right now, Jason is up there too, but I'm starting to think that maybe Joe's going to be in our final 3 just because he's kind of hanging around. It doesn't really feel like he's done too much to, outwit others. So the vote, might be easier against him compared to some others.
That's actually exactly what I was going to say, because, kind of towards the end of the episode, and we'll get to this, but Jason says, how are you going to show the people on the jury that you outplayed, that you outlasted, and you outwitted? And I'm like, so if Joe's on the jury, or I mean, Joe's in the final 3, he has no case against any of those,
it's
really.
A tough case.
Maybe outwit, because I guess, he didn't really, but outlast, definitely not.
At this point, you have to ask yourself, when will Joe realize this? Because it's obvious.
I think Joe knows it.
So he's okay with just playing the game and not winning?
It's almost like Joe is happy to be there and keep making it and moving on. And I'm almost thinking that Joe would be happy, with a 2nd place, 3rd place finish. That would be he wouldn't be happy he wants to win, obviously, but that would be an accomplishment.
Being
for sure.
a 71-year-old, just going on the show, being able to do these obstacles and compete with people. I mean,
I can see that.
I feel like maybe it's a thing for him, like, hey, I'm old and I'm, but I'm still able to do these things, and it's kind of like, beneficial for him in that way.
Yep.
So I mean, and I love Joe so much. I think he's great, but yeah, he's definitely not.
Andrew Kirk says that Joe would be the worst winner ever.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't make very much sense.
But it would be the coolest winner ever because he's 71 years old.
I'd be very happy with that. But
That's right.
if he had more like agility and stuff, then it would make sense. But I mean, do you think that's the reason why Aubrey has held on to him for this long, just to take him with her? Or is it just kind of like, hey, this is my alliance?
I don't think she saw that in the beginning. I think all of us thought he might be a really big threat because he's old and he's clever and he's strong.
His FBI days.
All that kind of stuff. He's a cool character. But at this point, I think Aubrey hasn't said it on camera just yet, but she definitely will be thinking it.
And you got
Like to go against him?
No, go with him.
Oh.
Right. He's like the perfect ally at this point because he will never win against you.
Sure.
And he will always vote with
you.
And you got to think that there's going to be other players starting to think that as well as we get closer to who we going to bring. Joe's a good guy. You would be happy to bring him, right? Because sometimes it comes down to, do you want to bring someone they deserve it, or you like them, you don't like them, you can win against them. But Joe you like, so you bring him along. You wouldn't feel terrible about bringing him because he's older and he's played decently.
Yeah.
But they probably are going to think they can beat him.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe taking Joe, not taking Joe, like those things are like $1 million decisions that people could sometimes mess up.
One thing though, as well, as if Scott, Jason, those guys go to the jury and Joe is in the final 3, they might be like, "If you guys," and vote for Joe. Just
if
to
Scott, wait, if who?
Like guys that's a little bit hated and might be angry with the people, everybody that double crossed them. They might be like, "Whatever, I'm gonna vote for Joe."
It's true because say that Ty was in the top,
yeah,
right? Scott and Jason, if they're in the jury, would never vote for Ty.
I don't think they will.
I mean, most other people would, but maybe not. After we saw at Tribal what they were talking about, like, oh, how he's double-crossed people and done this and that, like, maybe Ty wouldn't get as many votes as we had originally thought.
But the people already now is speaking about how good he is, and already now saying when you go to the final 3, everybody's going to vote for him. So them saying it right now, at this point, is a really bad thing for Ty.
This is the most difficult point for Ty, is right around now, although he's got a huge advantage.
He's still got the extra vote.
He's got the extra vote, which he's going to have to use next week.
Next week he has
and
to.
that means he has 2 votes out of 6, 2 votes out of 7 actually for next week. So, and they don't know that. So he has a huge advantage next week too, plus his idol. But this is the most difficult time because now they're thinking about who we can bring, and most of them don't think they could beat Ty.
I can't believe he didn't play that idol.
I think I would have played it.
I probably would have played it. I would have been paranoid. I mean, we'll get to that, but wow.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
But wow, yeah, we haven't even barely started.
Right.
All right, any other thoughts on that?
Well, it was interesting also that he asked Aubrey at the Tribal, should I play it?
Should I play it?
Something to watch. I don't know. Like, if she says yes, does he just play it?
Yeah.
Maybe he's that easily influenced right there. Because he was ready to play it.
If she would have said yes, I think he would have done it.
Probably would have. And maybe she should have said yes. From a strategic point of, because she could have easily said
From
yes,
a strategic
got
point.
rid of his idol, and also not looked bad in the process of saying, yes, play your idol, because you might get voted off.
She might have thought that
and that wouldn't even be like she could have gotten rid of his idol without being like, oh, look, she made me get rid of it. Kind of like, I thought you were going to get voted off.
But
it's possible.
Aubrey's in an alliance with Ty, so her saying to vote for that when she knows what the vote is going would look bad.
Possibly. It's possibly true.
I don't know, guys. Anyways, so Jason kind of sets this up, and he says to the team after Scott had left, hey, you guys are never going to get rid of Ty at this point. Like, you guys messed up. Now Ty's never going to be able to leave. But I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I don't think so. I also think tonight's a good example that is not true at all.
I think Jason's #1 goal this entire episode, clearly he came back, he's super unhappy.
Super pissed.
And bitter and frustrated. He's trying to figure out any way to get out from the bottom is the way he's looking at it. And he's trying to stir up the pot.
Yeah, and I mean,
everything.
He did say, I'm going to do something crazy.
He said, if someone's going to do something nutty, I'm ready. You know what I mean?
It's me. Yeah, for sure. So we also see a little bit from Julia here. She's very mad that she wasn't in the loop going in on this. So she basically, her and Michelle are talking. They're at the bottom of the totem pole now. So, I mean, I don't think Michelle was as pissed as Julia seemed to be. But neither of them were in on the vote.
I don't understand how Julia... I mean, I think she's just playing a game as well, being mad, because she hasn't had any grounds to be mad. Because she...
Julia's right in the middle.
She was running. She was playing both sides.
She's right in the middle of the mix, exactly. She's playing on both sides.
Why would they tell her? And she's all mad about it. And Ty's like, hey, let me just explain why I did this. She's like, honestly, I don't even care. I got a little attitude there. Hey. I don't know.
And you guys touched on Michelle. For me, this was Michelle's episode.
This was Michelle's episode.
This definitely was Michelle's episode.
I always thought Michelle was just flying under the radar. I'd never even really thought of her as a threat to win.
She was.
I think that she is like... I could see Michelle definitely making it to Final 3, possibly winning.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially at the end when we talked about Tribal, or at Tribal, they were saying that, you have to be a person that people on the jury aren't going to be mad at for doing certain things, throwing you under the bus. Michelle's never done one bad thing to anybody.
If you have to say right now, who will be the Final 3?
After tonight?
After tonight, who do you think?
After tonight, Michelle, 100%.
Michelle?
I could see Aubrey. I think Michelle, Aubrey, and Sydney, maybe.
Okay.
To be honest.
All females.
All females. That would be different, yeah.
I have the exact same.
Unless...
Really?
I don't think Ty will make it.
I don't think Ty will make it. Ty's not going to make it to the final
It's almost if Ty makes it to the final 3, he wins. It's almost he either is out or he just wins.
Exactly.
So.
Actually, I must say that I think that Jason might take Sydney's place just for that. You can't have that 3 strong players. No way will they all, because all 3.
So you think Jason might? Okay.
They have to take a go to the final 3. So that's either Joe or Jason.
So who do you think they would take the place of the 3 girls?
I think Aubrey would be there.
Aubrey?
I think Aubrey's going to win the season overall.
You think Aubrey's going to win the season overall?
Yeah. I don't think Sydney's too. As we saw, we'll get to that as well. But I think Sydney is a little bit too big of a threat. So the other person we said is Michelle. So I think Aubrey and Michelle with a goat.
Sydney was my pick to win at the beginning of the season, if you remember. But the thing is with Sydney is I feel like Michelle hasn't burned any bridges. She's a lot, Sydney has burned some bridges a lot in the process.
She loves a big move.
I love Sydney, and she loves a big move, but she's blindsided a couple of people. I don't think she's necessarily as likable to some fans as Michelle would be or Aubrey would be. Aubrey's burned a couple of bridges along the way as well, but not as many as Sydney.
She's definitely played the game.
My final 3?
Yeah, go for it.
Joe, Ty, and Aubrey.
You're lying. Are you serious?
That's my final 3.
Wait, Joe, Ty, and Aubrey.
What do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comments.
It's a little bit out there, but I think that, what we talked about with Joe already, I think he'll get pulled into the final 3 as an accomplishment.
You think Joe will get pulled in the final 3?
Yep, I think he's going to make it to the final 3.
Joe will make it to the final 3 if Aubrey makes it to the final 3.
I think Joe and Aubrey are a team, and I think Ty is going to win immunities or use his votes right. And I just can't vote. I've been with Ty all season. He's played an amazing game, so far.
Oh, I love Ty, but I don't see him winning. But the thing is, and I just want to spend another minute on this because this is like nuts to me. But if Aubrey and Michelle and Sydney were in the top 3, I feel that Michelle is like the most well-rounded of the 3. Like I said before, hasn't burned any bridges, and etc. But Aubrey, if you look at the outplay, outwin, or outplay, outwit, outlast, Aubrey's done all of those. Michelle she hasn't been very witty, trying to come up with different things, different plots. Aubrey has.
Yeah, she has played the game very well, and from the beginning, from early on.
You guys, Aubrey might win this.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think would win?
I don't know.
It's a tough one. An Aubrey versus Ty ending seems very tough, but I think Ty's going to win. I really do.
You think Ty will win over Aubrey?
Maybe I'm just a sucker because he's been so good, and usually those players are removed, but he's done a lot.
I don't know, guys.
But we're getting down to the crunch time here.
We're getting down to crunch time.
It's getting exciting.
I know. Okay. So let me see where I even am at this point.
We got back from Tribal, yeah.
So they came back from Tribal. They talked about different things. We saw the unhappiness with Julia and Jason, and then they went off to reward.
Right. So yes. So reward. Okay. So pretty much we have the reward challenge. They have to have these rings land on swinging hooks and etc. Like always weird stuff. Anyways, their reward is to have a chopper with an aerial view and then a meal in the middle of the ocean. What could be better? A lot better reward this time than some of the past rewards, I think.
Not salt and pepper.
Yeah, but there's a catch. So the people have to be tethered together in pairs. So our pairs were Joe and Ty, Julia and Aubrey, Michelle and Sydney. They weren't able to pick. It was just by straws or whatever. And then Jason had to sit out. So
which led to further. Imagine already Jason comes back. He's already upset as can be. He was on top of the game. He comes back from Tribal. Now he's on the bottom of the game.
Now he
goes to reward and he has to sit out the challenge.
Oh my God.
You could just see in the episode the frustration on his face.
Sure.
So upset.
So we go through this and Sydney and Michelle are up, but then also Joe and Ty are up. And we were so excited because we thought Ty was going to win this reward. And
Joe was going to win
Joe was going to win this reward. Turns out Sydney and Michelle win, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But I was just so rooting for Joe. I just want him to win something.
Well, he did good, and he had the right technique of flipping the rings the proper way. So he was doing so good.
He did.
This was his time to shine.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It was close. And so this was, I got to say, though, from watching Sydney throughout the entire season, usually in the challenges, the rewards, she's always close to winning but doesn't win.
Every time.
She's always second or third. It's like you think she's going to win and she doesn't, and then she came through too because she threw the rings and got them all on the hooks the whole time. So that was impressive from Sydney.
And you could see just the joy in Sydney's face.
And she even mentioned the fried chicken. She was super excited about chicken.
Fried chicken.
But she did say, I haven't won one yet.
Yeah.
And she was just so pumped.
Why is her teeth so white?
Why is there what?
Her teeth so white.
Her teeth are so white. So are Julia's. So are Julia's, though.
Are they allowed to brush your teeth? Do they have that? Because
they've got to have toothbrush.
She's got good hygiene.
They've got to give you that kind of stuff, right?
I think so. Good job, Sydney.
Yeah, right? Good job on that hygiene. So anyways, Sydney and Michelle went in and they were given one other person to pick. And they picked Aubrey. So I was thinking maybe Michelle might pick Julia here. But, I mean, they went with Aubrey. What do you think was the reasoning for that? They said she hasn't eaten.
But they did say that.
I think Michelle said that just to kind of not make Julia mad that she didn't pick her.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think much of it.
I think it was easy for who was with Michelle?
Michelle was with Sydney.
Sydney. So it's easy for Sydney to pick Aubrey and the team aligns together. And Michelle at this point knows that she needs to make a move to get on the good side.
Yes.
So she's in the bottom with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, okay, let's do Aubrey. Let's finalize this me in your little group.
Right. Yeah, so they're on reward, and then they're getting this beautiful views and food and having a good time. They're all in like separate hammocks, like lounging. And Michelle kind of reveals that she obviously has ties with Julia, but she doesn't want her character questioned in any way because Julia's character has been questioned. So I feel like that's another reason maybe she's trying to distance herself a little bit.
Yeah. Even
though she loves Julia, she's friends with her, but she's like, hey, I'm not gonna have my integrity questioned at all.
That's right.
And then I'm confused where Michelle was during this point, but Sydney asked Aubrey separately, like, so what's the plan? What are we going to do? But, like, where did Michelle go during all this?
She went to the toilet.
Yeah, I guess. Right. So, anyways, they're saying basically, what do we do about this? And they're saying, Michelle's a great option, but we're not sure yet. So, I don't know. I do not know. But then they also say they can't go to the final three with Ty, but they need him to get out Jason and Julia. So we have a lot of strategy here, a lot of gameplay.
At the picnic, there was a lot of I trust you, no, I trust you, I trust you. A lot of trust flying around, which if I was in that situation, I wouldn't necessarily put any weight to that at this point.
These things change quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And then also Sydney saying, you know what, we need to keep Ty tight for now, and then we need to cut him loose just before the final three.
Right.
Which is probably the reason why she didn't go with Jason's plan tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing is, just thinking about it, Ty is getting close to the point where he can ensure himself to get to the final three.
Where he couldn't what?
He can ensure his spot in the final three because he's got a couple more episodes, and then when he gets down to the 4 and there's only 4 left, and he has the idol, he can get there. So, and then he has this other where he's going to use next week where he has the extra vote.
Yep.
So imagine he gets through that. He basically
he has to use it next week.
Yep.
Next week he has to use it. So he has a big hand in controlling next week, and then he only really has to get through 1 week with that idol, and then he's in the final 3. So it's tight. Like they could try. You know what I mean? Like it's tough to go against that once they know this information. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you're right. There's just so much to think about. Okay. So then back at camp, while the girls are on reward, Julia and Jason are kind of saying, hey, we need to win immunity here. We need to get rid of Ty, give them room, but basically that they don't have the numbers. So we kind of see that Julia has no other choice at this point but to really go with Jason, which I kind of thought was interesting. And this is also where like Aubrey said, they were like, oh, Aubrey told Joe to sit and not move until she comes back. And I'm like, that is totally Joe. Totally Joe and Aubrey's relationship.
Sure.
Also, I didn't mention before, but what about the little run-in with Ty and Jason when they
when they spoke?
Well, I forgot about that. That was at the beginning of the episode, but I just thought of when he goes up to him and he's like, hey, I need to explain myself to you.
Apologizing.
Because he felt bad about it.
I think that showed the true timing. He felt horrible about even just playing the game and doing something that would make someone else feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that was like the real time. You could tell it was like eating at him. He said he's never done that before.
But Jason also saying at that point, no, it's just a game. It's okay, don't worry about it. But also saying off camera or to us, I don't want to show them how angry I really am. But I can't be really angry because as the fans, you guys said in the comments in the previous episode, if Ty did give the idol to Scott, Ty would have most likely been voted out.
Yeah.
So I think they all know that. So it's not really nobody can really be angry at him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he did what he had to do. It's a game. Like, Scott, I love too how Scott came in like all mean mugging. I'm like, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God,
He just wants
it's a game.
revenge.
Yeah, he's just trying to look all tough.
By the way, quick question. What are the contestants after they're voted out, like the jury, what are they doing the whole time?
They go to Ponderosa.
Ponderosa.
And they sit and they hang out and they eat food and they take showers.
drink.
It's great.
Okay.
It's great. I actually, I feel bad admitting this, but I haven't been watching any of the Ponderosa videos.
I've watched the one. I've watched Nick's, I think. Nick's arriving.
What did he have to say?
He was really bum. They get there, he's all dirty, and then Neil was at the hospital, so he was the first one actually at Ponderosa when he got there, and he was just all, you know, oh, man, and he's seeing all this amenities and all this food. And he's like, oh man, I don't want any of this. I don't want this. But it's like it's crazy because they leave the tribal council on a jeep. Then they have to get in then they have to get in a boat and take the boat, and the boat drops them off at Ponderosa.
Why do they call it Ponderosa?
Oof.
What does it mean?
Yeah, do you guys
we
know?
have to call
Yeah.
Jeff in for that one.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch some of those Ponderosa videos because, I mean, I feel like I really should have watched Scott's after last. Okay, I'll watch it next week. Get back to you guys on that.
But we're at right now back at the camp. Julia and Jason is talking and saying like what they have to do. At this point, was also like plotting to basically get Ty out of the game, saying, well, we need to get a fourth person, and also saying, well, once Ty's gone, they're gonna eat the chicken.
They're gonna eat Mark.
That's right. That's
So this is Ty's character, people. I mean, Ty goes and apologizes to Jason for backstabbing him. He feels so bad that he did something like that. Ty won't let the people eat the chicken because he's a living being. Like, this is Ty, and I just love him. And it sucks because people like this should win Survivor, but they don't.
He's gonna win.
He might, honestly. I'd be happy.
Ty's gonna win.
I'll be ecstatic if he wins, but he's gonna get outplayed.
I know. Anyways.
I hope you don't, buddy.
I know. We'll see. Next week's gonna be good. All right, so let's get into the immunity challenge. So they have this big wheel thing where they have to basically dive into the water, swim to this platform, and memorize all these symbols and numbers, and then they come back. If they can figure out the numbers and memorize it, then they have this box with puzzle pieces, and then they have to spell out a word. So, I mean, nothing too crazy with this, but we do see, like, so they have to sit there and memorize these.
How many do you memorize right now? Tell the guys.
How many did I memorize out of those?
Well, how many can you say right now?
That were on there?
Yeah.
I know that the snake was 6 because I remember 666 as in like snake, like the devil. That's literally the only one I remembered. I think 10 was a monkey.
Or
a 7.
I can't tell you.
10 was monkey.
10 was monkey.
10 was a monkey.
So I remember 2.
8 was a crab.
Why did you remember that?
8 legs and like 2.
Oh, good.
That's good.
Good.
And then I just remember all the animals. I don't really remember. I know there's a 17 and an 18 and a.
I didn't try that hard to memorize. If I would have tried harder.
I was caught up thinking about how everybody went into the water and ran with sneakers.
Oh,
and Ty had no sneakers. Ty went without his own feet.
So Ty has no shoes on, but everybody else has shoes on.
Yeah. Everybody else except for Ty. I don't know. Would you go into the water with the shoes or no shoes?
No shoes. I would miss shoes.
Which
Make sure it's heavier.
That's what I thought. It's harder to.
It gets water filled.
That's what I was thinking. Everybody went in.
They all go in the water with their sneakers every time.
That's how I feel in general. Like in America, people wear shoes everywhere. You're not even allowed in a store without shoes. And where I come from, you walk barefoot all the time.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You know, I
It's a
mean,
thing.
I feel like I would not want to go into the water with my sneakers on. Like, I would want to swim like a normal person.
Yeah.
But every time they go into the water, everybody has their shoes on.
Except for Ty.
Except for Ty. Maybe this means he's gonna win. No, I'm just kidding. Who knows? It could be a little secret message. I'm totally joking. It's not. But anyways, what I said before when you were like, you know, they went up to the platform, and I was like, oh, exactly. What I was thinking was, so they go up and they start to memorize this for like 2 seconds, and then Sydney dives off because she thinks she memorized it, and then everybody else dives off. I'm like, take a minute, actually memorize it.
Yes.
You know, was I the only one that thought this went by fast?
No.
I mean, it could have been an edit, but
Yeah, it can be an edit. But I also thought everybody is going to be too much in a hurry. Just it's going to pay off if you just really take your time and really go through it and calm down.
And Joe was very late up on the platform, and then he dove in pretty much when everybody else did, and I was like hoping that Joe would just stay up there and memorize it and then come back late, but you know.
And then he also kind of called it quits right there at the board because he didn't have enough steam in his engine to go back again because he didn't. I think he might have pulled the wrong key.
Yeah.
Poor Joe.
Did not finish.
Yeah, didn't finish. Anyways, so Julia and Michelle were ahead, and then Michelle wins with the word blindsided. So he goes, Michelle's not going to be blindsided tonight. Ha. And it was true. She wasn't. Anyway, she won immunity.
Also note, though, that Julia, she got it. Did she get on the first try? She got there first.
Yeah.
And that was kind of part of her demise tonight. Everyone was like, well, she was so close behind Michelle. And she's quick-witted, and she's smart, and she wins immunity.
Yeah.
You see how fickle the game is, how close, because if she solves it before Michelle, she's automatically moving on. It could be Michelle, who knows? But
right.
That's how, the game is, comes down to.
That's how fickle it is.
So,
right.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Aubrey says, too, after this all went down, she's like, Julia is well-rounded. She's got no blood on her hands, as we said before. And basically, everybody agrees Julia's gone. She's out.
What does fickle mean?
What does really fickle?
Sorry, I'm just so intrigued by this word. You say it, I don't know what it means.
Let's look it up.
Okay.
I really don't know what fickle means.
In the comments. I want to know what fickle means. It definitely fits the sentence. I just feel it needs to be there, but I don't know what it means.
Sometimes I use words like that.
Words are hard.
Changing frequently.
Changing frequently.
That's exactly what you said,
There you
right?
go. Yeah. This guy.
Wow. Changing frequently, especially as regards to one's loyalties, interests, or affection. That is literally Survivor lingo right there, guys. Anyways, so we kind of decide that Julia's out. She's gone. But Michelle's not really cool with this. She's saying, Julia's my biggest ally. She's my friend here. I feel really bad turning against her. And we kind of see the conversation that Julia has with Michelle saying, hey, we're going to vote for Ty. And she kind of just, Julia and Michelle are like best friends in real life now, too.
From the beginning.
Yeah. But I feel like Michelle did what she had to do.
And also Sydney was kind of in that boat where it could be going either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said they could either go with Julia and Jason and blindside Ty, or go with the original alliance and blindside Julia. But honestly, I was like, I hope, I don't really want Michelle to turn on her, but
hey,
I don't really care about Julia.
From the challenge, the reward challenge, it's apparent she is going to do what she needs to do to be on the right side, the winning side.
You think Julia was mad at her?
I think there's a chance that Julie doesn't know, because I don't think they'll tell them who voted for who.
Julia has to know.
Oh, because she watches the episodes.
Well, she has to know now, but there were only two people that voted for Ty, which was Julia was one of them.
Julia is one of them,
she knows
and
that Jason
obviously
was the
Jason,
other.
yeah, exactly.
But you have to do what you have to do. Michelle, yeah.
We said last week in predictions, though, we all thought it was going to be Jason, and if not Jason, Julia.
We did say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we were right.
We're there.
Wow! Look at us. So we're in tribal council, and they're having these conversations like always. Ty is trying to convince the alliance not to waver right there in tribal.
Don't rock the boat.
Don't rock the boat.
The boat is floating, don't rock it.
Exactly. And Jason starts to kind of yell about Ty and his gameplay, which we touched on earlier.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. It does. And
trying to stir it up.
A lot of valid points he made, though.
Yeah. And just putting doubt in people's minds, I suppose.
It's the right time to put doubt in their minds, too, especially when you're at the time you're going to vote. It's right fresh in your mind. You're nervous, so that's the time, really. I thought he did well in that moment. I thought Jason, actually, the way he was stirring it up a little bit.
I agree, especially because that made Ty think, oh my gosh, do I need to play my idol? What do I do? What do I do?
Right, Ty whispers it to Aubrey, do I play the idol here? And
I'm sure.
Yeah.
What I do think was interesting, though, is when Jason was going on his little rampage about Ty, he was saying, he goes, well, you flipped on me and Scott. And Ty's like, hey, I was at the bottom of that alliance. I knew that you guys were really close. And Jason says, okay, so you moved from me and Scott to an alliance that's even closer of Joe and Aubrey. What did you guys think about that? I feel like maybe Ty, he didn't want to be with Joe or Jason and Scott in the first place because they're not good people. I feel like he would rather be with Aubrey and Joe, whether or not they're close, just because he feels like he's more aligned with them. Does that make sense? Or what did you guys...
It makes sense, but I think it was a really good point from Jason.
I do too.
It's going to put doubt in everybody's mind, in his mind, in Joe and Aubrey's mind, everybody. I think he made a good point, and I think it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Jason can be all mad that they voted Scott out, but as you guys remember in the previous episode, they said, before the final three, we'll cut Ty loose, and it's Julia, Jason, and Scott. So if them, that doesn't matter. They would have voted him out. So
Julia, Jason, Scott, Julia would have won. I don't know who these guys think that they're going to win against. anyways. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much tribal, and they go into the vote. Anything, I mean, that was pretty much.
Ty doesn't play his idol.
Ty doesn't play his idol.
Doesn't play his. I
was freaked out.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Ty should have played his idol? Just throw it down in the comments. I mean, I, if it was me, like I said earlier, Paige, Mike, I would have played it. I
mean, obviously in hindsight, we're like, no, he shouldn't have played his idol. But at the time, I was freaked out. I was like, he needs to play this idol.
With all that talk before, 100%, I would have played my idol for sure.
I probably would have played an idol.
You would have played it?
Probably.
Oh my goodness.
It seemed like it was. But
it would have been a complete blindside because I mean he talked to his alliance. They shook on it. You know it changes, but
what that does show is that his alliance was stronger than the Julia Jason alliance conversation with Michelle and Sydney and whatnot.
And it also showed where Michelle's loyal to this alliance because Michelle did vote for Julia. And it also showed what
Sydney went for Julia too.
Sydney said she's going to vote what's best for her, and what's best for her, I guess, is to get Jason and Julia out.
Right, and so, yeah.
What if Michelle would have just voted for Julia? Well, then she would have been on the bottom. I mean, voted for Ty. Then they would have been mad at her.
Yeah, she would have screwed herself over. There would be no point.
Because she just did not want to vote for Julia.
If she knew that, if you know that Julia's going to be voted out that night, there's no point in going against the line. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
She did the right thing. Yeah, she did the right thing.
And that is honorable gameplay, where you can be on the jury and be like, okay, I get it. You probably are the reason I voted out, but I get why you did it.
Exactly. Anyway, so Julia's gone. She gets voted out. Michelle's crying. Julia's sad, but hey, I mean, it is Survivor. It's a game.
With a few guys here, Andrew said he would have played it.
Yeah.
Andrew said that Andrew said he wouldn't have played it. Andrew's got nerves of steel. Anderson said he would have played it. So.
All right. So anyways, anything else to say about this before we move on to predictions?
No, I'm ready for predictions.
I'm ready
for predictions. All right, let's go into predictions.
And now,
we kind of made some predictions at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah,
we did.
We did.
But let's make it big ones now. Let's make it big.
Let's make even bigger predictions.
Let's make a big prediction.
All right. Well, okay, so in the preview for next week, we see that the majority is starting to crumble, as they say. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't.
You don't? So you think Jason's on the bottom by himself?
Jason's on. Jason's only ally was Julia. Now he's without Julia, so he's going to do anything in his power to talk to Sydney, to talk to, I guess, Aubrey. I mean, him and Joe already clashed earlier this season. He's not with Ty.
So the alliance is Joe, Aubrey, Michelle, Sydney, and Ty. They have a 5-person alliance.
5-person alliance.
The last person against that is Jason.
So Jason, basically, in my opinion,
he's got to make a move.
He's got to win immunity.
Yeah.
That's what I think. To make his status in the game continue, I think he has to win.
Otherwise, he's gone.
Right.
But who's on the bottom of the alliance of 5?
Well, it just depends the way you look at it then. You could have been Michelle, you could say it was Joe, but Joe has Aubrey.
Well, Joe and Aubrey is together for sure.
Strong.
And so whoever's with those two, because it's going to be one.
And Ty is Ty is a part of that.
Unless you say, okay, you know what, we know Joe and Aubrey's together, so the other 3, Ty, Michelle, and Sydney's like, I know you guys are tight. You guys are definitely sticking together. So let's team up.
And also,
against these two.
Ty, since he has the 2 votes next week, he's going to make that known.
You think he's going to say it?
I think
before the tribal.
Yes, I think at some point, because I don't think he's going to. We'll see, but I think he's going to make it known with an alliance of Joe and Aubrey and say, look, Joe and Aubrey, you vote this way. With me, I have 2 votes. That's 4. That's already the majority. It doesn't even matter with Sydney and Michelle.
But back to your point, if you're smart though. I mean, so we see that
Joe. I really tried.
So Joe and Aubrey are so tight. And if they're smart, they would go with Joe and Aubrey rather than Ty. Because they can't win it. They have a chance against Aubrey and Joe.
Yep. Exactly.
But it might be easier for Michelle and Sydney to say, hey, let's just go with Ty.
But at the end of the day, I think that next week's episode is going to play out where Ty lets him know, look, I have to use this. And he's going to say, I have 2 votes. All I need is 2 people. He doesn't need much.
Right.
He gets 2 people, Joe and Aubrey. If they don't win immunity, he just,
So who do you...
Somehow I think he can wrangle 2 people. Ty. He's good enough at the game, and I think at that point, no matter what, he's going to try to eliminate Jason.
Yeah.
Because Jason is strong in the water, as we saw. They could be getting worried he's going to keep winning a couple challenges. He's got Scott on the jury. I mean, Jason, he's played an up and down type of game, but he's played. He's played, and he's strong, and he's starting to, evolve a little bit. So I thought Jason and Julia were going home next 2, and I still think that. So I think it's Jason's turn next
I think
week.
Jason's next. If Jason doesn't win
He doesn't,
immunity,
right, he
he's
has.
next.
I think he knows it almost at this point too.
He has to win immunity.
Right, and so it'll be interesting to see if he can win immunity.
Yeah,
but
and if not, bye.
that's what I think. I mean, it rests.
I think Jason is going to win immunity.
You do.
Which would be a
Absolutely.
curveball.
He's a fighter.
He is.
He's a veteran, army veteran. He's a bounty hunter.
He
There's
can
no
do it
way
if
he's
he
going
wants
down without a fight.
It's so dependent on what it is too, though.
Right.
Right? It's like who knows what it is.
Like a challenge where he just hold, like, you know, it's strength wise, like where he holds something in place or balances the balls. I feel like he can do it, but when it comes down to the puzzles and stuff, it gets a lot more complicated.
Right, and that's the thing. It's hard to know, but you're right. I mean, he definitely could win immunity, and if he does,
he's going to pull everything out.
If he wins immunity, it's going to change everything because then the 5-person alliance is broken.
I think he's going to win immunity. I think Ty's going to use his 2 votes, and I don't think Ty will speak about it, or at least I hope they edit it like that.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to make it much more interesting for us that's watching.
So who do you think is going to go home then?
If Jason gets the immunity, I think Sydney would go home. And not because of the predictions they showed, but I know that she's the next strongest player. So getting down to the final 3, I know that she is going to be a threat as far as winning immunity.
It's a good point.
But the thing is,
Joe, Aubrey, Michelle, all 3 of them aren't that like physical. They're all kind of even when it comes to the physical aspect of the game.
The physical aspect, but when you look at it, Aubrey and Sydney are a lot closer than they are with Michelle. And we saw that tonight when Michelle left and they said, "So what are we gonna do?" And Sydney's the one that picked Aubrey to come on the, you know, I mean.
But at some point you have to turn against each
If
other.
it's not Jason, if Jason wins immunity, I think it's definitely between Michelle and Sydney to go home next week.
Right.
Those are I think I could.
So it's definitely going to turn out to be an amazing episode next week.
can't wait.
Definitely, you must watch.
This is going to be great. Anyways, well, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for AfterBuzz TV. Make sure to like, subscribe to our video. Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to AfterBuzz TV. Thanks so much for watching. I'm your host. I'm Paige Bonanno. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Paige Bonanno. And you guys?
And I am Michael Rippe, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Rips.
Hey guys, thanks so much for commenting tonight. We read all your comments. My name is Jaco Vienings, and you guys can find me all over social media at Jaco Vienings.
Thanks so much for joining, guys. Have a great week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.